Oh, it's so wonderful to see you again. Come in and unwind. Welcome back to the Celestial Café, a podcast for the magical mind.
So come, take a seat. Would you like something sweet? A star drop potion for the soul? Maybe an enchanted eclair as a treat?
I just baked a batch of warm cookies with a dash of moonlight. I wonder what will happen if you take a little bite.
Here is your bewitching beverage. Let each sip melt your worries away. It's time to open your mind. I wonder what magic awaits us today.
Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to It's Here, the final episode of Celestial Café. Wow.
For a second, I was so confused when you were like, it's here.
I was here. I was like, here's, my package just got here. My food delivery's here.
Be right back. Dunkin' Donuts just got here.
Oh my god, I wish. I was napping before this episode, and it was the choice between a nap or coffee, and I'm ultimately glad I picked a nap because coffee, and I've got to work tomorrow morning. Yeah, not a good idea. So good morning to me. How's everyone else's day been? Hope y'all are doing good.
I was also napping before recording.
It's just a day of naps, I think.
I did sleep in, so no naps, but I did sleep in till like 1.
Wow.
And then my day was boring. Never mind. It was not worth discussing. It was a day.
I get the feeling I probably only slept like 4 or 5 hours last night because I stayed up later than I was supposed to after I told myself I'd go to bed, so I get 8 hours of sleep because I'm sick of being so underslept when I work a morning shift. And I did it again. So
I slept in and I took a nap.
Look, sleepy days rule.
I started a new job, which is actually very exciting, and
congratulations.
We'll end up talking about because it's witchcraft related.
Yeah.
I work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so we're recording this on a Thursday, and so I had 3 days, which is. I have concluded that 3 days is the max my body can handle working in a row at the moment because I haven't been working like straight days in a row. So by the time Thursday comes around, I'm just like, yes, I am so done.
Yeah.
So I slept in and I took a nap.
Is it like a full regular hours, like a 9 to 5 kind of sitch?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So 3 days in a row, it's like God. Okay.
It's like it's not bad, but like for people who work 9 to 5, 5 days in a row, like they're like whatever, that's easy. I'm like, but I like even when I do work, I've been like working like 3 days a week and like usually like every other day and stuff. So working 3 days a week in a row is just like, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Also that I start at 9 and I have my commute is about an hour, a little over an hour sometimes, depending. But which is totally typical for Chicago. Like I've never had a commute be shorter than 45 minutes in Chicago.
That's nice.
But I have to wake up at like 7.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I'm tired.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah.
How about you, Panther? How's your day been?
I got woken up at like 8:30 by the septic people needed to come by and test the septic system. So the dogs are all working. I had to like go out in pajamas and be like, I see you. I won't let sick 'em on you. You're good. Like, go ahead. And just like from then on, and then I've been like wrestling with Amazon for a new headset, which if you guys notice, I've been using like 3 different headsets, I think, on the past few episodes because my headset broke and like this one sucks. The other one was better, but like was dying. It was my boyfriend's old headset, and this is like a backup one we got for like $20. It's like some like Logitech wired headset.
Yeah,
it's okay, but like it hurts my head after a while.
Yeah.
And I just want my new headset, but it got lost and it was late, and then they gave me a refund, so I ordered another one. And a lot of dog walks later, here I am. I did film a new video today, which should be out before this video comes out. So if you're watching / listening, you can check out my channel, Panthera the Feral Witch, on YouTube and learn all about Lunasa, which is very exciting.
Yay!
So That was fun.
So we're supposed to be reflecting on Celestial Cafe today. We decided we're going to kind of wing it through this conversation, but we're just going to kind of chat about some of our favorite memories, how we feel like we've grown. Maybe y'all can think as listeners how you've grown over this, because I think maybe a good spot to start is like the beginning of Celestial Cafe, right? Like how we started it. And, we started Celestial Cafe as an offset of a Discord server, like a community Discord server that I was running a couple years ago. And we had a witchy section of the server where we would meet up weekly-ish to do tarot. Oh, I think it was once a month, just like we started the podcast with, of course, to do tarot readings to align with the full moon at the beginning. No, it was the new moon, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the new moon at the beginning of the tiptoes of Celestial Cafe. It was just like new moon meetups was what they were. And we were like hoping to meet up, renew our energy together, talk about the new moon, and do tarot readings, tarot swaps for everyone in the community. And the more we did these meetups, we realized that it would be useful to have a moment where someone explained like what the new moon was, like what phase it was in, or what astrology sign it was in, how that energy was affecting you. And that's basically the thesis for the podcast. It's kind of where we launched all of this from. We did eventually learn that everyone was very like low energy and groggy during new moons. So we swapped to the full moons instead so that there was more energy. Everyone was more present, which had its own handfuls of like, oh, okay, now everyone's too loud. Oh my God. Like it was hard.
10 Geminis in one voice chat,
yes.
all trying to talk over each other.
Yeah, we collected Geminis there for sure.
So we moved it from we basically started live streaming the like info portion of the meetup so we would go live on my channel at twitch.tv/HeyShadyLady ping. But we would go live there and do the little like, here's what the full moon is, here's what the lore of the moon, and kind of like add things on. Maybe we were talking about Beltane because it was that time of year or something like that. And that's also kind of why and where the vibe checks originated from too, because we were already going to be meeting up and doing like tarot readings and stuff together anyway. So it was kind of a collective vibe check overall. And then we would move back into the Discord community for like a community chat afterwards. And eventually we decided we just wanted to run it as a podcast overall. And that's where Celestial Cafe came from. So the three of you were wonderful witchy guides in the Offbeats community at the time. And now we're all Celestial Cafe hosts. And now we're all not going to be Celestial Cafe hosts. But we were doing Celestial Cafe once a month for about 6 months before we decided to officiate it as a podcast and start producing it on podcasting platforms. So there's a good 6 months of Celestial Cafe that's just out in the ether. And, it's just in the Twitch ether. Maybe some clips exist, and then we started publishing through podcasting platforms in June of 2022, because we just hit our year anniversary of podcasting platforms. And in December of 2022, we decided to up it to weekly, because we had been meeting twice a month. So we upped it to weekly. And then over time, it just kind of was a realization that it was from a time past and we were moving on from it. And all of us were ready to spread our wings in different directions and focus on different things, and specifically kind of like empower ourselves as individual creators. And I really think that that's the best thing that we can do for ourselves. And I can only speak for me personally, but it really feels like my life is changing in a way that I wasn't really expecting, not that anything dramatic has happened in my life, but I just feel like I want different things and I spend my time a little differently than I did 2 or 3 years ago when we were first like, concocting this collaboration project together. And so it was getting harder and harder for me to justify all the time into it. We talked about this a lot in the actual like why we're ending Celestial Cafe episode, which we'll link in the description below, but it was like 4 episodes ago or so if you want to look in the archive. And I think it says the beginning of the end or something like that, something dramatic like that. I don't remember.
The final chapter.
There you go. Oh, yeah. So yeah, that's how we started. How do y'all feel about the humble beginnings of Celestial Cafe now that we're here at the top of the mountain looking back at the start of the journey?
Well, Offbeats, the community that it started in, is definitely a part of a bygone era in my mind, and is in its rightful grave, resting peacefully. And I I mean, so what was this, like 2 years ago now?
I want to say that I closed Offbeats down in a couple of months before we went weekly, right? It was around April of 2022, because it was right around the time of my breakup. Like, I really just cut a lot of energy off last year, and I was thinking this the other day, I still feel like I'm shedding weight, not physically, unfortunately, but I'm shedding like a psychological weight that's been hanging over me for years and years and years. I mean, I want to say all the way back to when I first started streaming, like 2015, 2016. And it's stuff that was just accruing. And now I'm like, I'm looking back a lot and thinking about how off my course I got, not because of Celestial Café. Celestial Café feels like it was part of my course and it was bringing me back to my direction. But just with Twitch in general and gaming, when I first started my YouTube channel, it was all about witchcraft and fashion and like, here's my cute nail tutorial and how I started my witchy path. And it was all like very lifestyle of like a little, nerdy witch, right? Not really a huge focus on video games, but it was always like, it's always there. I'm a gamer. I'll never not be a gamer. But the second I touched Twitch, it just kind of bled my life away into it. And I completely lost track. Twitch tutorials went viral on my YouTube channel. And I felt like I had to only be Twitch tutorials. So I lost like the core of me. But
yeah, you locked in. And I mean, that was a part of you too.
I actually think Offbeats was a symptom of me losing my path. I really value the community and some of the connections and the memories and the charity, of course, the fundraising that we did with Offbeats. But Offbeats was like a streamer community, and that was a product of me getting lost in streamer sauce and not staying focused on me as an individual. And so I think Celestial Café, going as hard as it did or becoming as big of an identity as it was like a desperate plea for me to get back to where I was supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like it has helped shift your trajectory back?
Yeah, I do, because I feel so natural here with y'all. I feel so like authentic. I feel like I'm myself. I feel like we just get to meet up and we get to share information and education for people, but we also just get to, I don't like, beyond us like trying to be like the educators and do these presentations and stuff, I really don't feel like we had to try that hard here. I feel like it was come as you are, show up natural.
It felt so natural to like be able to talk about these subjects with you guys. If there's one thing I'm gonna really, really miss, it's just like our like weekly hangouts.
Just our little conversations. I agree.
And over the last few episodes, for those who may or may not have realized, we recorded all of them in one night. So these last few weeks, we have not been hanging out, and Thursdays have passed, and I'm like, oh, this would have been a Celestial Café night.
I think that there's some nights where it's like I was still kind of planning on Celestial Café taking up the evening, and then I get there and it's almost like it's almost like a snow day at school, or like you realize that you read the schedule wrong at work and you're not scheduled to work that day or something, and it's just like, what am I gonna do today? I've got all this spare time.
I know, and I was so used to like making doctor's appointments. Like I'm not free Thursdays. Like I would always just like leave that day open, like mentally, like physically, spiritually, for Celestial Café. And they're like, today I had to make a doctor's appointment. They're like, do you have any like days that don't work? I was like, no. I'm available all the time, actually. So it was funny. But I think that it's so hard. Like I was the same but different back then. One thing that I feel that has grown through Celestial Café for me, and over this time from the beginning of its conception to now, has been my connection with my craft. It's really given me a desire to show up more in this really sacred space that I carve out every so often, right? I sometimes daily, sometimes weekly, sometimes once a month, right? But it was, rather than being it, I wanted to get better at whatever that means, witchcraft, get better at, I don't know what that means, but like whatever that meant for me, at witchcraft,
and like dive maybe a little deeper into stuff, right? Like,
just so like I'm a more confident host here, and a more like I feel like I'm walking the walk as I talk the talk.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because like, and even though even besides like me concurrently doing witchcraft alongside the podcast, even though I have years of experience behind it was like, well, you know, I want to embody this role as well, like actively. And Celestial Cafe really helped me anchor in some way, shape, or form more often into just my witchcraft in and of itself, and my connection to all that is and all the occulty stuff I'm into. So that's something I could definitely look upon from the beginning until now. And I know a lot of us have different relationships with our craft at this moment, as everyone does. Like, it's totally normal to like not be in the mood to participate in this world every now and again. But like, this is the closest I've ever been to my craft since the beginning of me delving into it and participating in it. And I don't know if that would have necessarily occurred without Celestial Cafe kind of guiding the hand.
That's cool. Do you feel the same way,
that is
Fuchsia?
cool.
I've been thinking about this, and I'm like, it's interesting because for me, Celestial Cafe happened in this 2-year, counting like the time with offbeats and everything, this 2-year period where I purposely took a step back from making my own content. And I was focused on like the community and everything. And now that it is coming to an end, I was just naturally starting to make my own content again. So it's like, it's interesting because that wasn't a factor in the Celestial Cafe ending, but it just like, that's just how it kind of
serendipitous.
It was nice to have like the community aspect and the group thing going on in this time where I personally wasn't comfortable making my own solo content for a variety of reasons, a lot of anxiety going on in that time period, and so it's like it kept me afloat in the content creation sphere, but also did bring me back to I mean like all the shadow work we always talked about it did and everything, like it brought me back to finally making my own stuff. And I haven't like gotten back to making my own witchcraft stuff yet. I'm waiting until I'm going home next week. I know I've been talking about this for a while, but I'm going home next week, and then when I come back, I'm going to see what the state of things are in my life and plans for the future, and then I'll start my witchcraft stuff back up. I have a lot to talk about, especially like my new job and everything. So I've just been like holding off on that until I come back. But I have been like, I have been already writing video scripts, and I've been doing a lot of content on my video game YouTube and blog. So I'm excited. I have almost completely written a video and blog entirely focused on witchcraft video games. So I'm excited for that one to come out sometime like late August. Probably it's going to take a while to actually put the video together, but it occurred to me that Celestial Cafe just happened in this pocket for me where I like it served a purpose for me that I don't think it really, like, I mean, it did kind of serve the same purpose. I know Panthera like stopped focusing on her own content and stuff, but like I had deliberately walked away from mine. So it served a very unique purpose for me. And now with all of that and all the episodes we've done here and all the things I still want to talk about, I'm ready to do my own thing again.
It's interesting.
I have a question for you. Oh, I'm sorry. I just have a question for Fuchsia. I wanted to ask if you feel that Celestial Cafe has boosted your confidence in some way. Or like, I don't think that's exactly the right verbiage I want to use, but maybe run with that. I'm just curious because I think that that's what I've observed in you. So correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like there's a part of you that's stepped further into yourself in this process, and it's been something I've noticed.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's just a journey of me in general. It's just finding confidence in everything to do things. But it's definitely helped a lot.
Yeah, because like I like even just you being the lone earth sign in a room
sea of airheads.
And being able to hear you sort of jump in a little bit more assertively and stuff, which is good. We need that. We need,
because otherwise we're just gonna fill the space. So just stop us sometimes because they're just bambling. That's not a word.
Yeah,
that's my point, though.
We're bambling. Yeah,
it's rambling and babbling.
And babbling together.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that was something that we struggled with in the beginning. And honestly, like just me being who I am with all my anxiety, just bringing that up, like I don't have space to talk, just bringing that up caused a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
But that's something that we like worked on, and so yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I feel like I've noticed it in all of us. Like I feel like when we first started, we already kind of like had space for everybody, but over time it doesn't feel like we have to carve it out as much. It feels like it just naturally. Does that make sense? Like it's like this section is for you, this section is for you, and now it's just like we naturally ebb and flow, and by the end of the episode there's been space for everyone. We even in the episodes where we don't necessarily have the structure like we did with the full moon episodes. So I don't know. I feel like not only have we grown as individuals over the last 2 years, but I also think as a set of hosts, I'm really proud of the production that we've put on, and just how far we've come along. I think when we first started, we didn't even really have overlays or anything, and like I made an animated logo for this, and like I feel like this was such a professional production by a bunch of amateurs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I think we went, if we're going to talk business for a second, I think we went above and beyond with our marketing and the way that we like put ourselves out there. Maybe not so much on actually using the social media.
Promotion is different from marketing.
But when we did show up,
it's just a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
We created a very professional podcast product, I think.
I think so too.
I think when I look back, it'll always be, I mean, even to me, like the creation and the laying to rest of it. I've run several podcasts in my like I think this is my 4th or 5th one. And only one of those has been a solo project. So I've run a lot of collaborative podcasts, and I think that this has been the best one, not in terms of content per se, because I can't really rank them. I love the content all equally, but in terms of production and also like the ending of it, because I had some where they ended not so amicably. I had some where they ended just because we both fizzled and ghosted, or it just disappeared and faded. And this one, I feel like we've like communication was clear. And it was, it took a lot of courage. I don't know if y'all knew from my part or not, but it's very hard for me to say no in any aspect. And ending Celestial Café was a huge no, right? And that was extremely difficult. And so, Fuchsia, you're talking about the anxiety of bringing up, you don't have space to talk. The anxiety I had surrounding, I don't really feel like doing this podcast anymore. It's so much like a breakup in some ways. Stop laughing, Panther. I was trying to ignore it.
I can't explain that. I can't explain that. I have no idea what just happened.
For those of you guys who are just listening, it's because I just watched Dukes's camera stretch horizontally.
She just went gremlin mode all of a sudden.
What
if this is what Dukesley always looked like, but she's been
All right, this is suddenly not a safe space. This is who I really am. And, okay, it's fine. I thought this reveal would warm everyone's hearts. So it's okay.
This is the perfect time for it. Yeah. The final episode, I just want you all to know, unzips human skin.
The truth come out.
Hey, aliens are among us now.
She was a Shmeebo all along.
The Shmeebo is within us all along.
Yes, not without.
But yeah,
Sorry.
the anxiety of being honest about where my feelings were, it was a lot like breaking up to me. But this is going to be the first amicable breakup of my life. So. And that was something I really, really wanted. I wanted to be able to express that and bring this to an end. But I also didn't want to create bad blood, because it's in the creator space. It's really fucking hard to not have bad blood in long-term collaborations, because and not to say that it's impossible, because I've had those experiences, but I've also had like an equal amount of experiences where collaborating with people over a long period of time, the drama that can come up from it, the gossip, especially when egos and spotlight and stages is involved. It's such a and I think partially that's why I'm wanting to like step away from creating for a little bit, is because like this Hollywood vibe is draining.
Bumming you out.
So there you have it. The real reason Celestial Cafe is ending, it's because we don't want to go long enough to see ourselves become
you
the
either
villain.
die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Exactly.
I was just dying also again at the shady, it's not you, it's me.
It's not me either, though. It's, you know, like... Is that what I'm saying?
A lot of factors.
Am I being that trigger?
The first amicable breakup. I'm sorry, I'm still losing it from
Deuce's true form.
I'm actually Hobbit. I've been saying it. The truth is real.
I've had my fair share of difficult situations from social like communities or whatever they happen to be, and I care about all of you so much that I'm really glad that we were able to, like, I don't know, we're all in an emotionally mature enough space, not just as individuals interacting with each other, but also as professionals performing together, and that's a hard balance to find, which is also why it was such a difficult decision to make, because we do have great chemistry and harmony going on here. But I feel really strongly that we're going to continue forward, and it's not like we're, you know, and I always say, like, if people disappear in life, people disappear in life. Like, at a certain point, I just learned that some people come and people go, and you can't control that, and it doesn't reflect upon you necessarily 100% that just because like I used to be close with this person and now we're not close, there must be something wrong with me. People just drift. We float through lives, and sometimes we're like right next to each other on a path, and other times we're fluttering away. Someone's elevating up into the sky, someone's going underground a little bit, or they're going sideways on paths. Like, and
you gotta trust the floor.
In cameras.
Or they're squishing.
Or I'm being quantumly crushed.
But Panthera, how do you feel that you've changed since the beginning of Celestial Cafe to where we are now?
Oh my gosh, so many ways. I mean, when we started Celestial Cafe, I was like running full speed ahead. I was in my chariot moment, I feel like. I was reading tarot multiple times a week on Twitch. I was engaged in multiple community discords surrounding either streaming or witchcraft community itself, and being very active in those. I was doing weekly YouTube videos and pushing that out. I was doing the blog at the same time. My Instagram and things like that have always been a little more wishy-washy, but they were still there and happening. And I was like running full speed ahead. I was doing this collab. I started a D&D podcast as well too. And I also was doing at least once a month role play collabs too on some other channels. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like I could fit another thing on my schedule. Let's go. Spoiler alert. Something had to give, and it ended up being my own personal content, which really, really sucks looking back on it.
But that's the easiest one because you don't want to disappoint others, but it's easy to disappoint yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I have a really hard time when I commit to something, I'm going to be there. Like I don't back down on something that I've made a promise for. And unfortunately that bit me in the ass. I signed up for all those things like started happening around the same time too. Like I think even the D&D podcast and Celestial Cafe both like became legit podcasts at the same time. It was like the same month even. I think it was like that June, right? And that we started doing Celestial Cafe as an actual podcast. And then so that's when my D&D one started also. And then also I did Ren Fair for like the first time that summer too. So and that's when my own content just plummeted between the Ren Fair and the other collabs. All my content creation energy was going towards the collaborations that I was doing throughout the week. I maintained YouTube videos a little bit for like, I want to say like a month and a half, and then they just plummeted. But like Twitch was gone right at the get-go of Ren Fair season. I just did not pick it back up. And then I like regained some momentum in October for a witchy collab that I did on YouTube. And then I like did 2 videos and then I plummeted right back again. And it was hard. I really burnt myself out on creation, on my own personal craft. I just gave too much of my energy away is what it boiled down to.
You stopped your personal craft as well during this time? Okay.
A lot of it. I do a lot that's like in my mundane. So I don't think I'd ever consider my craft like gone.
Right.
If that makes sense.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
But like even like what I'm wearing and things like that. But like I was doing like, full moon rituals and things like that. There was a lot of in-depth like I just now realized that like I haven't added to my own personal like Book of Shadows or grimoire in like months. Wow. All the research that I've done has gone into blog posts, so I haven't learned anything like just for myself. And that made me really sad the other day.
That's like interesting because that's what happens to streamers with video games, but this is us with our like esoteric like pursuits
or just interests even, right?
Yeah, there is, I know Panthera and I are in a Discord with other witchcraft content creators, a lot of YouTubers, and that was a discussion that came up like last month. That was like a lot of people are stepping back from making witchcraft content because they're not doing anything for themselves anymore. And with everything, it's always hard to find a balance. It's always hard to find a balance to keep making this content, but also do it for yourself and also not burn out and also keep it fresh and also like make sure you're still learning and like it's so hard.
And make sure that you're surfing the algorithm and you're trendy and clickable. Yeah.
I never have to deal with the algorithm ever again in my life. God. Except I'm professionally doing it for my job.
I was gonna say I kind of enjoy the algorithm in general because I like math and I like the ebb and flow.
I just wish it didn't dictate so much.
It doesn't have to, but because we make it our job, it does. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
No,
I wish there was I understand why the algorithm works the way that it does, but I do sometimes wish that it would not. And this goes for pretty much all social media platforms, but it wouldn't prioritize consistency as much of it as it does, because that's why you hear about creators who can't take vacations, who can't take a day, Twitch streamers who can't have a day off because they lose a quarter of their income. And, it's it really perpetuates a toxic mindset in our creators who are keeping these like platforms afloat.
It's always just a problem when the algorithm starts to get tied to your self-worth. That's I think the dangerous tumble. Because like data in and of itself isn't bad. It's the connection you make with it is what's
it's when it becomes personal.
Dangerous. Yeah. Which unfortunately, when it comes to stuff like witchcraft, like as opposed to just like being good at video games, right? Like if
it's
you're
so
just
personal, right? Like
right, like this is very
it's part of your
vulnerable.
soul, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being good at video games is personal.
Yeah, I take that back. That's a big personality trait of mine. And I will take offense if you don't watch my 7 headshot kill streak on YouTube.
Look, Dukesley, you would be the first one to have a 7 headshot kill streak, so don't even start with us, sniper ass.
I just want to be good at decorating my silly little houses.
So I was thinking about what Fuchsia, you were saying about how your personal content kind of was on a hiatus as Celestial Cafe was going. I remember when we were first doing Celestial Cafe, in the first couple of months, there were several times where I was saying the only reason I'm going live on Twitch right now is because of Celestial Cafe. And I was, grateful. I was like, this has at least kept me consistent, if nothing else, because I'm not creating anything else. And that was in the first half a year of Celestial Cafe. That was at the beginning. And then I tried another 3-month burst of I'm going to commit to everything and streaming all the time and doing the VTuber and all of this kind of stuff. And then it was just kind of a final damn, this shit ain't working. Why do I keep, and that's the quote that's insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And that's what I feel like I've been doing with my content creation journey, is the same thing over and over, expecting it to work one time because I just wasn't consistent for long enough, or it wasn't, I wasn't a good enough creator. My thumbnails weren't clickable enough. The titles weren't good enough. I wasn't picking the right video games, and that's, I think, the most demeaning as far as self-worth goes from a content creation perspective is constantly, like you said, Dukesley, attaching it to your identity. The algorithm not feeding you to people is a you problem, but it's an algorithm problem, and not taking that personally is hard, especially when you see other people that it seems so effortless. And I don't even think this is a social media thing, because I think this is just think back to high school or wherever.
I was gonna say, this is just life.
Sometimes people just naturally everything just seems to work out for them, and it can feel but honestly, maybe they're just in their chariot era, and catch them in 3 months and they're going to be a miserable, burnt out mess. And we're always looking at each other from, we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes, and we have no idea where people are in their journey. So it's that thing of comparing your daily life of looking at yourself in the mirror with acne and a double chin, and then looking at this beautiful Instagram picture that's been filtered and perfect. We're looking at stuff out of context in the best moment possible and comparing it to some of our lowest moments and thinking that's normal. And I think that the algorithm and all of that, as a content creator, doubles down on it so hard.
Yeah, and I think that as long as I don't know, I feel as content creation, and even just podcasts, all this big umbrella term of content creation, I think that it is your success is also somewhat reliant upon the confidence you have going into it, and sort of being able to surf on that sometimes, because you're not always going to be able to put out banger after banger of a video or of a stream, or so you have to trust yourself that you're going to always just show up and do your best, whatever that best is, every time you show up in this space. It's tough though. So wait, how did we get here?
I know, I was just about to comment on how interesting I think it is that we ended up in this topic right now, because this definitely wasn't in my mind of where this episode was going to go, but we've all naturally, we're all content creators. And I think it's relevant though, because we've been doing this for 2 years. We've had an ebb and flow of our own personal content versus Celestial Cafe, and Celestial Cafe has never wavered, because all 4 of us,
it's only grown,
have held each other accountable. And it's not just accountable, but when I'm having a low month, Panthera's having a high month, and Fuchsia's having a normal month, and Dukesley, we don't know because she's an alien, right? But I feel we've all been able to compensate for each other's peaks and valleys of our energy levels when it comes to content creation. And because this has been a collaborative effort, it hasn't felt as hard to produce as a solo YouTube video, write script, perform, edit, publish, promote. We've been kind of sharing the burden here together. And that let us make a really beautiful production. So I don't know, when I think back about my favorite Celestial Cafe moments, they're moments that the audience has never seen. It's us doing our sound checks before we go live.
Okay, I'm doing a sound check.
Okay.
Can y'all all say something?
Hello.
I'm a Barbie girl.
Hello,
In
everyone.
a Barbie world, wrapped in plastic. It's fantastic. Panthera.
You can brush my hair.
I'm Jesse everywhere. Dukesley. Come on, Barbie. Let's go party.
I really need to release these for the future.
Beep it up, 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 beep, up, beep it up, up, up. Bing bing. Bing ding 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 ding.
Did you know I can do these?
What? No way. My dad can do this too. Whoa.
I can't
really
do those
quiet.
whistles, but I can do like a normal like.
I can only do. This is the most ADHD shit I've ever seen in my life.
I can't.
It's the moments, the 20 to 30 minutes before we actually start the production, where we're getting in with each other and like figuring out each other's energy for the day and kind of like settling in and becoming one entity together. And then we go live. I love that I have people who I can share that with, because it's the more I'm out in the real world, the more rare it is to have connections like these to me. And it's God, especially in real life, it's easy to find people on the internet you have stuff in common with, but then to have like personalities and sense of humor and all of that. So I weirdly, my favorite parts of Celestial Cafe, I love the production, obviously, but when I think about my favorite moments, they're all pretty much behind the scenes, or these silly moments where Dukesley's camera gets stretched, and then the improv, and it's not even intentional improv, it's just us being silly together, right?
Bantering.
It's banter about something funny that happens. And
It's always the little in-betweens for me. It's your pop culture references, Shady. It's gosh, the first time that Dukesley was like, yeah, I'm really into throat match.
oh my God, yeah.
I still want that on a t-shirt.
I'm gonna put that on my dating profile. I think was
I'll get some buttons made. How about that?
Oh my God.
My throat chakra is open, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So drop that down.
I already need to. I need to make buttons and stickers that say "I am Knuff" from the Barbie movie. So I'm gonna make. How about I just put in an order for throat magic buttons and stickers as well?
Yes.
That's
Oh my
awesome.
God, yes. Post-production
I
merch.
love it.
There we go.
But we figured it out. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to pick like favorite moments. I just love being able to show up and wax poetic about one of my favorite things ever, which is astrology. I don't know, like, and being able to have that stage to play there and explore that for myself, I think was really important. I loved the research portion of it, and just like really sinking deeper and deeper into my connection with like the celestial bodies. Like a lot of my favorite moments are more like moments, like things that have accumulated into something bigger. I think like my favorite moments are the outcomes that have come from the work I put into the podcast. For those who don't know, I did the thumbnails for all the episodes, which I really love to do.
I've loved watching you grow as a graphic designer over time, and I think that you put together some of the most adorable and eye-catching thumbnails and a cohesive theme. I really love what you did with the last 4 episodes and how they all matched, but they were different to our own personalities. You've been doing a beautiful job with the thumbnails.
Thank you. I've been I had so much fun with that. I definitely feel like I've grown as a graphic designer, which is just a hobby for me. I've never edited people before, so it was interesting learning how to edit people and their skin tones. I had some thumbnails better than others, but I feel like that was something that was really fun for me to look back on and watch the growth of. It's a shame because these aren't evergreen, unfortunately, but I look back on the full moon episodes fondly. And I also look, because like I say it's unfortunate because like, and for the record, I don't know if we've ever said this, but the Celestial Cafe archive is going to be up for as long as possible.
There's no reason to take the YouTube down.
Yeah, so like
the website will expire eventually, but the YouTube, there's no reason for that to go away.
Yeah, so it's a shame because we're going to keep all the full moon episodes up, but there's really no reason, quote unquote, for anyone to really go back and watch those.
We're all feeling nostalgic, and it's like, wow, what was it like with Dukes like 10 years ago? Let me go back and like hear the banter with Fuchsia again. Like we'll never, it's just going to be beautiful memories to me, and that's why I'm glad there was like a good resolution to this, so that I leave with a good taste in my mouth still, because I've had so many things, and not even collaborative. There's been so many projects where I just got sick of it in the end, and I look back with a sour taste. And I'm like, I don't ever want to see this again. So, but
this is a very comfortable resting spot, I believe, for Celestial Cafe in my mind and physically. But yeah, I think that there's been a lot of tender and important conversations on the show, some episodes that stand out more than others. And
I think of the meditation as preparation for death episode with you, Dukes.
That was a great episode. That was one of my favorites.
That one was, God, and it wasn't until this is something else Celestial Cafe kind of taught me about myself, is that I'm just I don't want to say I'm not doing good, but like death is really heavy on my mind lately. And I guess it makes sense at this point in my life and my dad's health issues and all of this kind of stuff. And then losing my cat Squim and all of this has kind of been accumulating over the last couple of years. And then we're trying to come up with these variety topic episodes. And I'm like, ghosts, reincarnation, what happens after you die, meditation is preparation for death, and I'm like, yeah, I'll talk about that. And then it's not until I look back at the thumbnails and I see what images are circling that around me that I'm like, so skull. Yeah, I do feel like this kind of made me, well, I mean, one, it made me aware of this, but two, it gave me a safe space to be able to dive into those topics without being treated like I'm depressing or, like something morbid. Like that, morbid or the bummer. No. Like there was still a safe space to discuss these really human topics that we all deal with, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna stop talking. I'm getting emotional.
That was one of my favorite episodes, and I agree that I think that we created a really healthy space to talk about heavy subjects and even like heavy esoteric like things too, wherein like we were talking about like ancestor work and like really confronting like those who have passed, and creating a space here that is non-judgmental and vulnerable, but also lighthearted and silly and not too serious,
There's no light without the dark, like it's all in balance. So
and I've captured that feeling like occurring during the meditation is death episode. I have the episodes up on the other screen. I enjoyed listening to like the reincarnation episode for the same reason. I don't know. I think we did a good job at juggling those things. And it's actually one of the big feedback that I get from Celestial Cafe, where it's like, you guys talk about some of the deepest subjects, but I don't feel heavy afterwards.
I've received that comment before. I never leave heavy from our conversations. I always feel lighter after a Celestial Cafe conversation.
I agree with that. I guess, do you guys want to talk about favorite episodes?
My favorite episode is the cryptid episode, which is really
one of mine.
When I look back at them, like I value so many. I have two actually, but the cryptid episode I think is what I want to do more of with my content. I want to I don't know. I've always been the person that's like,
conversations,
let's have a sleepover and talk about aliens and do you what Bigfoot and have you ever seen a ghost? Like I love these kind of like X-Files topics. Those have always been my favorites. And I had a moment where I went too hard into the conspiracy rabbit hole and on looking back in it, that was like definitely around my acid era, right? And when I look back on it, I'm like, oh my God, this is too much. This is cringe. This is also like mentally unwell. For me personally, I'm not speaking for anybody else, but it's a difficult topic to talk about without like upsetting people. And I was afraid to talk about it for a long time because I didn't know how far was too far and I didn't know how much was too much. Boundaries, I guess, with that topic is just conspiracy theories, strangeness, and especially as a content creator, you have to be aware of and careful of the platform you're holding and speaking things as truth when they're not, and the dangers of that. And we saw, I won't get into it, but that's like more, that's probably a whole topic I could do, is just like the discussion of that and the impact it has upon the collective consciousness and all blah, blah, blah. But I really enjoyed being able to talk about that. And I think that through y'all, I've been able to learn those boundaries too, and not just y'all, but like other social connections that I have, and but seeing that episode, it's like I was able to talk about like a more controversial theory of the what do you call it, Hollow Earth with the Bigfoots in it and stuff, but which isn't necessarily something I think is serious, but it is something that people will get up in arms about hearing about, because we're talking about the origin of life, and people take, everyone has different spiritual,
like a Gartha.
Yes, like a Gartha, and it was definitely a theory posed in jest and kind of in fun, but not immediately being like, well, that's dangerous if you to even propose that there would be a hollow Earth, because clearly there's magma at the center, and like to have like to be met with like really rigid thinking that also is accusing you of like doing something bad, in other words, by thinking about like imagining. But this is also where fantasy novels come from, is thinking about what if there was a hollow Earth and the council of Bigfoot live within, and that's why we never find them in the national parks, but we see hints of them here and there. Like, that sounds like a fantasy story to me.
You're speaking like a true storyteller.
So I was going to say one of my favorite episodes, for a lot of the same reasons, but very different topic, is the unicorn magic episode.
Oh, because I love that one.
Because it was a space where Dukes and I could just talk about unicorns without like being judged about being silly or weird or delusional that unicorns exist. Because I have always like carried it in my heart, like always, that unicorns are real, and never had a space to talk about that. And never had like people who agreed with me, or even if they didn't agree with me on their personal belief, they were willing to listen and like just like be like, oh, that's really like a really interesting way of looking at it.
Just entertaining the idea,
entertaining the idea, and that's what I love to do, is entertain ideas. That's it.
I like to run away with a single thought, a single vibe, and chase it and see where it leads me. So
it's so interesting that the unicorns episode, you brought that up, Fuchsia, because that was kind of the inspiration for the cryptids episode. It's like, we're going to talk about like working with unicorns, and dragons was on the list too. I was like, why can't you work with a cryptid? Like, why couldn't you choose to work with Bigfoot or Mothman or something? Like, so it just started out as like a theory. Like, I don't personally do that, but you could.
Yeah. We were creating, or I say as if I was there. You two were creating room to play with that concept, and I think that's another just general plus of Celestial Café, is that we weren't very rigid in our.
We were flowy and open-minded, and we're willing to explore the stars. You know what I mean? And
yes.
Another one of my favorite episodes for completely different reasons was the shadow work episode.
That was one of my favorites.
That was
easily
that was an early episode, and it stayed my favorite for so long.
I think that is, in my opinion, the best example of Celestial Café, because I think all of us that were making blogs came with blog posts to correspond with it. We all had like our little deep dive individually that was interesting for all of us to listen to. We all learned something from each other. It's an info-packed, well-researched, and well-delivered topic that is evergreen in the witchcraft community, and is a foundational topic in the witchcraft community that is hard to understand for people that are just getting into it, and is sometimes feels a little gatekept about exactly what it is. And I think that we handled and delivered that topic, like that remains my best example of Celestial Cafe. And my favorite episode to do was the cryptids. But I think that those two and like we'll put the cryptid episode and the unicorn episode in one category there together, because it's all four of us kind of playing in the same field there, with shadow work on the other hand. And I think those two show the range that we have as hosts here. And that's what, when I look back, those are the shining beacons for me.
I like those episodes a lot. Shadow work was so long ago. That's crazy.
It was,
It was.
I loved the Fae episode.
Yes, I loved that one too. That was easily top 2 for me. Yeah,
me too. Unicorn episode might be my favorite as well, by the way. Like my number one, if I had to choose one. I remember feeling so giddy and excited before coming in to record that one, and having a wonderful time, feeling like an equal with Fuchsia, talking just all about this inane, perhaps to others, belief that we hold and that we hold close to our hearts. And it was very validating and magical and lovely. I have, that's the only episode I have watched multiple times, is the unicorn episode, just because it makes me feel happy. It makes me feel safe. I really liked also, like I said, the Fae episode was just so interesting for me. I'm sure we love it for two different reasons, because it was, I don't think we've ever had an episode quite like that before or since.
It was very interesting because we had two different dynamics, because I'm somebody who has been very interested in the Fae in general, but haven't really dabbled in. So I had a lot of like the research kind of backed up, and you had the personal experience. So we were really able to tackle this topic from two different perspectives of, like, you know, almost like the expert and the interested, or like the experienced professional, and then like the interviewer. And it was very, very interesting. And I feel like it's like another good example of like the two sides of Celestial Cafe that we have. And I think that I loved having some chances to talk about these topics with people who are more in depth into that subject than I am. And it really inspires me to pursue my craft in those areas. So I was very inspired after the Fae episode.
Cool. I also want to shout out the Alice episode real quick.
I was going to bring that one up. The Allison, like the White Rabbit episode that me and Dukesley did together, I think was a really cool episode and a really cool topic. That doesn't get enough discussion, in my opinion.
I was about to say, I think it's one of the most underrated episodes, and I know it might be hard for someone to jump into without knowing or understanding Alice.
Literally, just go watch you could either watch the animated Disney Alice in Wonderland, or you could watch the live action one that they did a couple years ago, and then just watch the episode. And
then we fill in the gaps. We fill in all the esoteric gaps.
Yeah, I had just read the book for my Shady Whispers podcast, so it was very fresh on my mind. And I do think, oh God, the book is so timeless. Like I could reread it anytime and it would still be like, you'd pull different things from it. But I do think that reading the book is something I would urge everyone to do, because it's tedious in like a childish way, but then it's also so fulfilling by the end of it too.
It's so good.
It's one of those things where I feel like you either love or hate to read it, but you should. And if you don't want to read it, you can always go listen to my Shady Whispers performance of it, if you want to call it that.
God,
but
true.
It's like a bedtime story. It's like kind of soft spoken. So if you want to, you know, I'm not saying you gotta, but you could also just straight up watch the movies. I think the movies are do a fine enough job. I do think that is one of our, like, I think it performs pretty well, but like it gets glossed over a lot in our discussions, because it's kind of it's not as, you know, memorable as cryptids or unicorns and all these fantasy creatures and stuff. But
that was one that I was, and also it features my poncho that I ruined in the wash. So at least my beautiful houndstooth poncho is immortalized forever in that episode. So rest in peace, that poncho.
On the topic of like on the polar opposite kind of topics, going back with like the two polls of things. That one of the episodes I really loved was our reincarnation episode, and
I did too.
discussing. Like, I think we had a great discussion, and like the topics, like the theories and all these different beliefs around reincarnation. And it's like one of those things that I don't talk a lot about, but has always been like a thing in my mind. Like, I've always known about like reincarnation as a theory. So it's like something that I finally had the space to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's like, again, like we're talking about like Alice in Wonderland, and then we're talking about serious topics.
Yeah. After death theories.
Yeah. Which I also had this realization. I was putting together a video of my top comfort games, and like every game I had to revise the list because almost every game was about death. And I'm
no.
like,
Just Saturnian things, though, honestly.
That's just where I am right now. But I was like, these games, like, we need like more discussion about death, not in a morbid sense, in a comforting sense, and in a this is a part of life sense. So I really like that episode, and what it brought to the table. I love that episode.
Cool. Oh, another one I want to bring up, that if we want to talk about underrated and underappreciated episodes, I think our Tassiomancy episode did not get enough eyes on it. I think that was well researched, well discussed, and fun. And I think everyone's missing out because they didn't watch it. Because it's one of the lowest viewed things on YouTube.
I think that is just a kind of, it fell victim to at this point where we were losing steam, and
I
think that reflected in
our cryptids episode is also very lowly watched.
True.
We expected that a little bit.
We did, yeah. We knew it was a bit of a risky topic going into it, but
we had fun, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
I even had the YouTube thumbnail for that.
You did.
With the big,
So
arrows and the. Yeah, it was. I don't understand. It was made for YouTube. I don't get it. But no, and like.
Are there any?
Yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, are there any episodes you look back on and you wish that you could redo?
Let me look.
Lucid Dreams is my answer. I like our Lucid Dreams episode, but I think that we were so unstructured with it that that
was chaotic.
I think it was chaotic, and I would like to redo that in a more organized way.
We had a lot of thoughts, and we had a lot of thoughts, and did not do a great job of putting them out in a cohesive manner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember ending that episode and being like,
we were all over the place. Yeah.
Wow.
We discussed a lot, but it was like kind of non sequitur a lot of the times. And I think that it could have, that one I think we could have done better, because it's one of my, like, I feel like shadow work was so like structured and well organized.
It was
and
good.
I would have liked to have seen Lucid Dreams in that same way. But, you know, I'll probably do quite a bit of Lucid Dream content on my own YouTube channel anyway. That's like when we talk about, like, we were talking a little bit earlier about like witchcraft and your practice throughout Celestial Cafe, and although I'm not really practicing tarot that much anymore, or like divination, I'm still actively like lucid dream, dream recording. Right. I don't think that there ever goes, I'll say a week, because some days I'm just completely unlucid in life. But I don't think a week goes by that astral projection, sleep paralysis, lucid dreaming, dream interpretation is not something that I'm actively involved in one way or another. Since I was in my late teens, when I first started dream journaling and stuff like that. So that's one of those like passive witchy, which a lot of people might not even look at as witchy, because it's just, that's just a normal part of life, dreams and all that it entails. But I think the exploration of becoming lucid and studying the dream symbolism and shadow work that goes along with that, because man, sometimes your subconscious symbolism is you're like, you know what, actually I'm not going to write this down because better remember this. Better left it unremembered. Let me
unring that bell for a second.
I do not need to be this self-aware. So.
I can't afford to be this self-aware.
I was also going to say that episode. I remember, like, while we were while we were doing it, I was like, oh, I wanted to talk about this, and I wanted to talk about this specific thing, and I wanted to like discuss this, and we didn't get to it. And then when I listened to the episode after the fact, I was like, oh, we did talk about it, but it was in such a all over the place kind of manner that I never got out like the specific thoughts that I wanted to get out. So yeah, that was something like if we went back in time, that would be an episode that would really benefit from structure.
Are there any other episodes y'all think would be good for like do-overs?
I definitely have one. So I think the one that comes to my mind is the daily routine of a witch, which I think did well, actually. I think it's a topic that a lot of people were interested in, but I remember us being so scattered and like it's hard because we all want to talk so much about like how we are that it felt like towards the end I remember it being like rushed and it was like, okay, it's your turn, but you've got like 10 minutes. Like, go.
Well, because I think we were still live streaming at the time.
Yes, we were.
And that put a lot of pressure on it.
More God, that's a whole other layer of what Celestial Cafe was too. Like just hi chat.
And like
it was just an interesting part.
And balancing that and then the tech problems that go in with live streaming and then the energy it feels like having to welcome raids, the that might have caused a lot more clustered energy and
and I know a lot of us had different feelings about should we be live streaming or not. And I was like, yes, I want to live stream. I thought it was so cool. I never really saw something like this on Twitch.
How do you feel about that
before.
now that you're producing a podcast?
I understand the pain. I could imagine the editing that would have to go into specifically the raids and like just like, oh, gotta cut this out.
The chat distraction in general.
I could imagine that there was a lot more to juggle and prioritize. Was this response to chat like actually relevant, or was this us like humoring someone? Like you know what I mean? Like those types of questions that you have to ask yourself as editor. I can imagine it being a little bit more on your plate.
I've always understood the decision to be streaming it because we are all streamers, especially like Shady was primarily streaming and not doing so much YouTube at the time. So like I've always understood the decision, but I do wonder if streaming ended up in the end putting more pressure on us.
I think in some ways.
Well, we stopped eventually.
But
in some ways, talking about
in some ways, yes, I think it might have put more pressure on it. But in other ways, I think it brought more eyes to us as well. And I think this was a big reason why we wanted to stream in the beginning was to get exposure for Celestial Cafe and help draw people in. So it was kind of a double-edged sword, really.
And I think that it was also a little bit of copium for us because that was like, I think at least that's what I had in my head. Like, even though we're not using our Twitter, Instagram, or whatever else, at least we're like on Twitch.
Well, and in the beginning, the live stream made sense because we were creating Celestial Cafe out of a need to deliver information to the group that was meeting in voice chat in the Discord server. So everyone come to the live stream, watch it, then we'll meet in the Discord server. And over time, those meetups ended and it became more about the show, and the live stream factor was no longer really relevant anymore. And that's eventually why we stopped live streaming too. And I think I was just reaching like the limit I had with like
you were at like critical mass regarding the internet and just being perceived live.
Exactly. So it always had good reasoning for being streamed. But and it was a different layer.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, in general, I think adding the 2-person episodes was one of the best things that we did for Celestial Cafe. And it gave such cool little spotlights to each of us at different times. Like, and I thought that was such a potent idea that... and those were also my favorite thumbnails, by the way, to do, were the 2-person ones. I had so much fun with those.
I think that the evolution over time of where we started and where we ended up, and like this is how I am with every major decision I make in my life. But there's part of me that's like, man, we could still just keep, because we're starting to, get to where we get over 100 views on episodes, and it's like we're just starting to tickle the algorithm on YouTube, and it's like we could just keep going. But then I just think about it like in the big picture, and then what I want to do busy with my personal content. And I'm also thinking now, I still haven't really had the opportunity because even though we haven't been recording weekly, I've still been editing weekly. So the workload has only changed very slightly for me. I still haven't had an opportunity to experience several weeks in a row of no content creation. And that's what I think I'm looking for before I start to dive back into whatever it is that I want to create. Because I'm already like eyeballing, like the Palia game is about to go into open beta and they're allowing us to stream. It's not going to be an NDA anymore. So I'm already like, that's literally next week. And I should just put a YouTube video out this week. That's like what Panthera just did of like, I'm back, like welcome back kind of thing. And then start streaming, but then I'm like, is that not just me rushing, or is this me following? Like, because I really do like the Palia game, and I really think that this is like a perfect combination of like MMOs, totally off topic here, but like it's this perfect combination of stuff that when I first started streaming with Stardew Valley, when it was released in 2016, and it's like, is this not the same, like, I love this game and this speaks to who I am as like a creative individual exploring a cool little fantasy world. Is this not like, so there's that whole debate going on with me too. But yeah, I think that having a break away from the content creation process and stepping away, because I don't know, like back to Celestial Cafe, but like seeing your thumbnails for the podcast. So many words, I never know which one to use for it.
The lazy oddcast of Wonder and Whimsy. Yes.
Seeing the thumbnails you're doing for that, I'm like, I wonder if Dukesley would have been able to do this had she not had the practice with Celestial Cafe. Not necessarily the podcast, but like I think that I think the same way you asked Fuchsia if your confidence had grown through this. Do you feel like your confidence has grown, Dukesley, throughout this to the point where you're now able to do a one-man show that you're fully producing and you're putting your face on, which is, I think, not a normal Dukesleyism on the great world of the internet?
No, it's not. No, it's true. That's a big question, because I think I've always been confident, like at least like in like who I am. But I think that where my confidence has grown from the podcast, especially as I enter this new era with the Oddcast, is that what Celestial Cafe gave me confidence in is one that I can show up once a week, record, create content. Because I don't think I've actually talked about this a lot on this podcast, but I'm a pretty big spoonie. I have very low energy levels, and I can only devote so much time in one day to my objects, or else I get burnt out, cranky, and then I have to take like 3 days to recover, right? So I'm very energy sensitive, and so I have to really respect what I can output. And Celestial Cafe taught me that I can output more than I think I can these days. I'm also still operating from a place where I used to be bedbound, very chronically ill. And I've not been that way for a long time, but I don't think my brain has caught up to my body where I'm like, oh, I could do this now, like, and regularly, and proving to myself that I can show up weekly to Celestial Cafe, do the thumbnails, do a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff, and just like operate on this level of schedule has given me the confidence that's like, I could do this. And that was the main thought that occurred when the Oddcast first was birthed in my mind. It was like, when I thought about doing things like, and it's funny because like I never really thought about podcasts either, because I don't listen to podcasts. So it's also kind of interesting that I'm diving deep into this world that I don't participate in.
That's how I was with Twitch. I don't watch Twitch, but that's where I produced the most, and I was the most successful relatively. Yeah. So it's interesting.
And I think there's pros and cons to that, I think. Like, I lack the brain worms, but I also lack the know-how that comes with like going into a place that I'm not 100% sure what the hell I'm doing. But like, the Celestial Cafe, and I have mentioned before that another place where Celestial Cafe has increased my confidence is in my astrological studies in particular. I've always felt very confident as a tarot reader. I didn't need any like affirmation there. But when it came to astrology, because it's so rooted in like, correlation, and it's like, okay, like I want to make sure that what I'm saying is and also there's just so much bullshit with astrology. And it's like, am I actually like spewing useful
bullshit?
Useful bullshit or the stupid ass bullshit? Like, I gotta choose. That's what some people will think I'm saying, but like, I think that the fact that so many people, including the three of you, have come back to me and been like, what you're saying when you talk about astrology, it makes sense. And
you put everything, right? Yes, you put everything in layman's terms. You make it easily digestible, and you speak with just enough jargon so that an advanced person is interested, and just enough not jargon that a newcomer can start to put the pieces together on what the jargon means. I think you're like a perfect middle area between advanced and newcomer. I think you bridge the gap is kind of how I feel.
It's very much like a audio show not tell, if that makes sense. Like, you don't have to take the time to like fully explain everything because you're explaining it as you talk, kind of. Like, it makes sense in the way that you're using the language.
Exactly. Thank you. That's very validating. Because that's how I hope to come across. Because like, I don't want to be like a beginner holding your hand as I walk you through your chart sort of deal. But I also don't want to be like jargon and slang terms for all these astrological things that are just gonna, you're so distracted by whatever the fuck a quincux is, and you're not gonna listen to like.
But when you use descriptive words about the quincux, or which I'm new to that term personally,
quincux, yeah.
But like when you're like, oh wow, you've got a big old stellium, and that's a lot of energy. Right now, even if I don't know what the word stellium means, I understand that there's a big group of energy in that space, right? Like you are descriptive in the way that you use the jargon to the point where I can start to create connections in my brain of what they mean.
You give us those context clues.
Yeah, right. Context clues. You were the queen of context clues.
Wow. I was going to school to be an English teacher.
But have you heard of the queen of context clues?
That makes my little English heart happy. But I think that I don't think I would have ever had a playground for me, because it's very hard for me to jump into the astrological world, because I think that astrology in particular has some of the biggest, brightest, most academic minds in esoterica, wherein they're very focused on making sure that the math is mathing in the sky and that everything is aligned with, and worth mentioning, I have like a number dyslexia. I have dyscalculia. So like, I always felt like that was always a barrier of entry for me too, when so much as this is based on degree systems and like all that stuff. But being able to show up here and get so warmly received with I don't know, something that I think is kind of complicated at first glance, astrology, has definitely, because even at the time I was streaming and I did not have the confidence to stream as astrology on my channel. And now I would not have a problem doing that, I suppose, because now I understand, like, okay, people will be able to grasp, at least those that matter to me, you know. I'm not for everyone, but for those who I am for, I am as accessible as I possibly can so that they get me. So that's where I think a lot of my confidence grew. And it's true that you mentioned I'm putting my face on my podcast, which interested me as well. And I know this might be weird for people who watch the podcast because I use webcam every time, but if you do or do not know this, I'll share it anyway. I don't use webcam like anywhere ever.
We're very blessed here in Celestial Cafe. This is a privilege.
This really is like you on stream. There's no cam, like and not even like VTuber. Like I'm literally, there's nothing there to even show what
your
I'm.
Hands, your beautiful hands.
My little bitten up, little gnawed up nubs of hands. Unfortunately, but yes, that's all you get of me, and yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I think that I'm slowly, I don't think it's like a permanent thing. I don't want to just always be physically available to the world, but I am feeling myself sort of enter a comfortable stage where I want a part of my physical self to be connected to my content. And I wonder if that's connected to Celestial. It must be, right? This is the only place I've ever experimented with something like that before, so it must be. But yeah, confidence, I think, has grown in a lot of subtle ways for me throughout this process. And now that I even have started the Oddcast, which, by the way, for those who are listening, there are 2 episodes out of my Oddcast. You should listen to that. I'll talk about that a little later, I think. We're probably going to promote ourselves at some point. So wait for that if you want to hear more information on that. But I... even like with the stuff with like editing and all the behind the scenes stuff that I never really got to work with, it was like the big thing I was really worried about was just being able, and also the Oddcast is a single person podcast, so it's just me, just trusting myself to be able to carry that space. Yeah, I'm certain that this helped with that. Good. Because one thing that made me sad, but not sad, because I knew it couldn't have been any other way, just because of all of our expertises put together, was that I bogarted a lot of the astrology section, or like sort of created this big space where it was just like, I'm going to tell you everything that I know about this. But the fact that people were so receptive, despite me taking up a large portion of those full moon episodes, gave me the esteem to bring that to my own space. And I think was sort of the big influence for me making the Oddcast, was like, we want to talk about more shit than just full moons here. I'm taking the full moons with me. Yeah. Because like, and in fact, just like completely renovating what these lunation check-ins are. So yeah, I felt at least confident enough to carry the weight of an entire full moon episode on my shoulders in my own space. So yeah.
Panthera, I know that you were kind of forming a lot of your blogs around Celestial Café topics. What do you think you're going to do with your blog going forward? How are you going to pick topics for your blog out? Or are you going to be expanding beyond witchcraft topics? So many.
I mean, I've always had an idea of what the blog is going to be. And there's entire categories that I haven't even touched. So I have like pre-done names for all these sections, but like the crystal compendium, I only have 3 entries in, and there's like so many other crystals that I can go into. I'm gonna do plant profiles is another one that I haven't even touched. Wow. The tarot trove. There's the animal archives. So like
you and your alliteration.
I love my alliteration. Can you tell? You can even tell it's some of like the episode titles recently.
Yeah, true. Panthera's
Celestial Café, but yes, I love it. I do the titles and descriptions and stuff, by the way. But yeah, so I've got so many ideas. And if anything, Celestial Café just made me like rush certain ones a little sooner than others. And it also did get me interested in deep diving some different subjects and kind of really diving into the historical aspect, because I think that's one thing that I really ended up bringing to a lot of the mini episodes, especially. Yeah. But I really got interested in diving into the history and the folklore and like the why. Why do we have this association? Where does this come from? And I think that's so fascinating, and I really like diving into those kinds of. I like to know how things work and why things are the way they are, and that's one of the main reasons I love history and science and things like that. And I love the opportunity to take those and mesh them with witchcraft. So Celestial Café has already inspired several blog posts for me. I've got like 10 in the drafts that I've started but haven't finished. There's tarot reviews that I have half written up, or they've been on YouTube but they haven't made it to the blog yet. I've got a lot of I'm not an issue with ideas. I'm an issue with time and execution. Yeah. Yes. That's where I struggle. That's why it's one reason why I think I do so well in like group settings and collaborative settings, because I never run out of ideas. But when I have somebody who's relying on me, I find it's easier for me to actually do the thing and get the task done. And when it's just on myself, I'm like, But the Sims Horse expansion just came out, and I need to finish this house.
The horses.
Do not ask me why like 20 hours have gone this past week, okay? Like, yeah, I could have done 2 YouTube videos probably, but I built a big house instead.
Also, and I know I'm going to dig into this for I've started blogging a lot. I have not done I have not set up my witchcraft blog yet, just because this summer, like, you know, everyone knows what happened this summer, but I've discovered that I really like doing the blog format because I don't always have the capacity to sit at my computer and record a video and edit. I have chronic pain, so some days sitting at my computer is just cannot be done. So I know, and I'm sure, if you ever run out of topics, we have the entire list of topics of episodes that we did not get to. So there are many, many topics that we wanted to cover here, and we just did not get to. I know I'm going to be doing a lot of those topics.
Cool.
And I'm sure Panthera will be too.
There's
There's no shortage.
Crystals. I could be, that's like, if I did one crystal a week, that would still take me years to even come close to doing them all. Like,
crystals is the only episode I wish we did.
I know.
That I feel like was like a big loss that we just... We did do a crystal episode. I love crystals. So that was the big episode I wish we did, but that's all.
Do you guys have anything else on your like wish list for Celestial Cafes?
We never really got super trippy, I don't think. I think that I think I kept my like I don't know. And this is another one of those topics I was talking like conspiracies and whatever, but like this is another one of those topics which is touchy and difficult to, but I want to talk about psychedelics and stuff, but I never know the proper way to like approach that. And I also don't want to create like a certain type of community around me that only wants to talk about drugs, because it's not necessarily like my goal with it. But I like, that's such a huge part of, if y'all watched the like how we started our witchy path video, that's a huge part of how I started my journey. And every time I have like my most profound spiritual moments, there's always some psychedelic in the background, cue me breaking my arm and the doctor's dosing me with ketamine. Like it's and that like was something that I talked about a lot as it happened, and then I just stopped talking about it for a few months, and then all of a sudden it started coming, like it loomed back up, and it's like, wow, I didn't really process that at all. I just like I think, to me it's like I think about talking through things as they're happening like helps me process them, and I don't think that's true. I think that the processing comes for me in the silence and the integration of it, and then it starts to kind of, because like I keep thinking about that moment, you know, and that's what the acid boiled down to, is like one moment, and the DMT boiled down to one moment. So these and that's when you get into like spirituality and everything is just one moment, man. Like it's and that's what it all, like when I say very confidently, when I die, I feel pretty sure about, you know, where I'm going to go to like that one moment, you know, and I think that's probably why I was approaching these topics like meditation is practice for death. And like, I think that's why, because through these experiences, you start, I don't know. And then there's a whole other topic to go into with that, about how psychedelics shouldn't be the conduit for it. Shouldn't be the only one. You should be able to reach it through meditation and natural practices and stuff too. So there's this whole area around, I feel like, the trippy realm of spirituality and other layers of consciousness and different dimensions and entities that you meet in the DMT trips, and like, you know, Terrence McKenna and all of these types of speakers on these topics that we never even bridged, because I don't know if this is the appropriate space for it or not. And I also didn't want to force those topics upon our audience that might just be coming in for a tarot read vibe check on the Sagittarius full moon. You know what I mean? So that's one of those things that I think that if we had continued going further with Celestial Cafe, I would have felt very unfulfilled if that was never able to be on the table with the conversations.
I think it would have eventually, because that was a part of my journey too with psychedelics. I think it would have come up eventually. that aspect of my journey was not nearly as important as it was to your journey, but I definitely had moments of enlightenment and connecting to me, myself, and the world, and forever, and never, and always, and all those heady concepts that I think eventually it would have. But I also think that when you're ready to jump back into content creation, which I think will happen eventually, just because I think there's a space for you here, and I think that it would be a loss without you to share your thoughts and stories. I do think that that's something that would thrive the best in your own space anyway. Just
I think so too, because I don't know. It's like I said, like this is, I don't know. It's like, it's the difference between having people over to my house and showing up at like the local witchy shop and just being like, have you heard about our Lord and Savior LSD? Like, you know, it's the difference in like people opting into that space and not opting into that space. And
right.
But I don't know.
You've clearly never been to the shop I go to.
Well, there's some shops around Asheville, North Carolina that are very much like would lead with that too. But I don't know. It's one of those tricky topics that and it's also
it's a little touchy, unfortunately.
It's touchy, but it's also illegal. So it's, you know what I mean?
True.
Like we've got a whole government law issue going in with that stuff.
We would be a brand risk, I suppose.
For sure. I mean, and I think maybe that's another thing that's held me back with some of the topics I want to cover is if you're not family friendly. And if you've watched my content for a while, like my personal content, you know that I've gone back and forth with like, I'm gonna fuck it. I'm gonna say whatever the fuck I want to versus like, oh, frick, bitch. That's some crazy heckin' stuff. Like, because I want to be family friendly versus one. Because oh god, I heard my mom say heckin' chonker the other day, and I was like, oh, it's over now. I remember very specifically one time I had a clip from there was a popular little cozy indie game that came out, and I had a really awesome moment from it, but I said fuck in it. And I think I even bleeped the fuck out, like when I put the clip on Twitter, but this company was retweeting and reblogging everything, and they had a lot of eyes on them because this was a very anticipated game, and they never retweeted mine. And that right in that moment, because I saw that, I was like, this isn't a matter of size, because they're retweeting Joe Schmo over here with 24 viewer or followers. Like, this isn't a matter of like they're only picking like big creators. This isn't. And then I started looking and I was like, there's no rated R stuff. There's no, like, it's all cozy. And I was like, it's because I'm cussing in this, and I get it, but that's why I tried to beep it out. But I thought beeping it out would still be enough, but it's not. And I need to stop cussing because this is hurting my ability to market and promote and network with companies at this point. And those little this is one other example. These little fucking pieces just get ice picked off of you over time until you don't even recognize yourself anymore.
And until it's like Theseus's ship. Yes. Like, am I actually the same person as I showed up as? Yeah.
And that's what I think, like, why there's this whole constant identity crisis for me, because I'm always trying to change who I am to fit in how I need to fit in. And the internet is really not a space that you should do that, because every corner of the internet's different. You're never going to fit perfectly anywhere. You want people to fit perfectly around you. So
exactly that.
Yeah.
I have one video topic that it kind of goes in the same realm of like kind of touchy, but this was like the only place that I've felt like safe enough to have this conversation. But Dukesley, I asked you a while ago if you wanted to do an ethics of meat eating and vegetarianism/veganism episode, because I was an ex-vegetarian, or I am an ex-vegetarian now.
And I'm an ex-vegan.
And I'm an ex-vegan.
And very recent too, right?
I'm a non, but I'm like starting to broach into like tiptoe into vegan vegetarianism.
Yeah, I know, like you have things with like meat texture and seeing meat and stuff like that. And so
if I know it's
an animal, I can't.
As soon as I take that bite and my teeth bounce off of it, and I'm like, oh, that was a tendon. I got to spit this out right now. And in fact, I will now only eat my salad for the rest of the week. I got to have space.
That's still me.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm like full like carnivore kind of now. Like I'm like, give me the lettuce prime rib. Yeah. And but I'm coming from a place where I was a vegetarian for a long time, like 5 years or so. And I just think, and like with Craft and the like Annie Harm None Do As She Will is kind of like, I feel like vegetarianism is kind of like held on this pedestal a little bit in witchcraft spaces, and I have a lot of respect for those who can do it, and for veganism. But yeah, I don't know. It was just one of those conversations that I was like, "Ooh, I think this could be like a really good conversation about like multiple sides, all of us in a respectful discourse of like what are your thoughts on this matter?" And then just I think it would be such an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, that's a missed opportunity.
We always have the
this collaboration
oddcast. We can always do a special guest.
It's true. I definitely have ideas on bringing all of you on individually and together at some points, a couple times a year maybe, just to either catch up, or if I feel like there's a topic all of us can vibe on, why not? I think Celestial Cafe can still live on in a more subtle way through the Oddcast. You know, it doesn't have to end right here. You know.
So when y'all look back, how do you feel about the building of community that we did over the couple of years that we did this? I've definitely noticed that we've grown more like regular. I feel like, okay, so speaking specifically to those of y'all in Discord, but I've definitely noticed over the last like 6 months specifically, lots of y'all coming out of your shell and starting to share things of your own path and your own practice, posting pictures. I know there were some gardening pictures that were posted recently. And I think that that's been... It's so easy when we're doing this podcast to like look at the analytics and be like, oh, we got 100 listens on this and but to not, this is one thing why I've always loved having a Discord or connecting with my audience, is because I love to see the faces behind the viewership. I feel like a stronger connection to who I'm speaking to, and I understand more of what I should be focusing on. If it's like, okay, we've got like 10, 12, 15, 20, 100, however many people that are posting pictures of specific their gardening. We really got to get Panthera to do a gardening episode then, because this is clearly like that's another topic we didn't really get to dig too far into, was
we never discussed
greenery and planting and so I think it's been really cool to see the growing community, and that was one of the biggest factors in like not wanting to end Celestial Cafe, is like I don't want y'all to not have the space to go to anymore, or like, you know, like y'all just found. I saw so many comments when we posted the first goodbye episode that was like, I just found y'all, oh no, kind of thing. And it's like, I know. And that's like, unfortunately, in the world of the internet, that's always going to be a truth. Someone is always going to have just found you, right? So it's it's a lot like, again, a breakup. There's never a good time to break up, because the's always a birthday around the corner, or a holiday, or a Mother's Day, or an anniversary. So you got to just pull the Band-Aid off somewhere, right? But yeah.
We're all still making content, at least. So I hope that those of you who have found us recently, and if there's a good backlog to watch as well too. But if you enjoy our voices, definitely check us out on our individual platforms, because that's one of the reasons why I talk about this a little bit in my personal YouTube video that I just did, where the I'm back video. But one reason why I know that this is the best decision, at least for me, is that I feel so much more re-inspired in my own personal path and what I want to share with the world again. Yeah. And I've fought for so long about having the energy to make my own video again. And I haven't made a video on my channel since October. So it's been a long time. It's been almost a year. But I'm finally getting like remotivated again, and not just in YouTube, but in the blog and everything. It's like the pieces are like finally coming back together. And I hope that I'm able to kind of build my stamina back up to be able to have more different things in the future. But I need to get my foundation settled first.
I do want to take a second here and just say a thank you personally to our patrons. Peter, Darren, Anarka, Candyhead, Comrade Allie, Carol Ann, Jennifer, Megan, Anita, Chelsea, and Stitch and Virago. Thank you all so much for your very generous Patreon support, and a huge thank you to our top patron supporters, which were Lady of the Tree and Lars. These are the names behind the viewership, right? And y'all were here month after month supporting us. Y'all were putting your money where your mouth was. You wanted to see us grow to be bigger. And I hope that we were able to give you a great space while we were here. And we really, really appreciate not only the patron support, but being in the Discord. I remember some of y'all's names from the Twitch chat and leaving comments on the YouTube videos. And those of you that were sharing your pictures of your path and stuff like that. So big thank you to our patron supporters. Y'all have definitely made an impact on us and helped us continue doing this, and all of the growth and the confidence and all of the stuff we've been talking about. Y'all were planting little seeds to help that happen by like being here. And to the people who don't have names in our patron list that were just listening and hanging out in our Discord or there for the Twitch chat or just listening on YouTube. You just found us 2 weeks ago and you sent it to your mom and then now they're canceled. Sorry, mom. Wow. This always happens. Like, so, thank you everyone for just being here and believing in us and liking to listen to us and enjoying the space that we were creating. It's always really validating to have, other people enjoy what you're saying, period, like in real world, but also on the internet, in this big wide world of all of the different content that you could have been listening to and supporting on Patreon. You chose to contribute your time, money, and energy to us, and you believed in what we were doing, and that means a lot to us. And that I can't overstate the gratitude enough. And I'm glad that y'all could witness my most consistent and productive and what's the word, like affectionate. I'm trying to think of how I was saying earlier, like when it's ending, and amicable. I think this has been the most professional, consistent, and true heart-based content that I've ever participated in. So I'm forever grateful for that. And I know I haven't talked about it specifically. I do think that my confidence has grown to the point where I'm literally like here without makeup on today. And I think that Celestial Cafe, like if you've watched my content, I'm like glam bitch, right? I'm doing cosplays and all of this like layers of makeup. And over time on Celestial Cafe, it's just like become, I don't have to like put all of these layers on. I can just show up as I am, and that's totally fine. And part of that is this is a podcast production, and I assume most of y'all are listening and not watching, but also it's so relieving to have content where I'm not stressing myself to the point of breathlessness speaking nonstop, because I can give other people the stage for a second and I can sit down and calm down for a second. But also the focus isn't on what I look like. And over time as a content creator, that's become a harder and harder thing for me to deal with, is the constant worry about my appearance and competing with that and that Hollywood era, that Hollywood spectrum of being an entertainer kind of thing. So I'm grateful that this space exists, and I'm grateful that we had people who were supportive of us no matter how we showed up that week, because we all showed up in some weeks when we didn't want to, when we barely could, when we were hiding tears or we were hiding terrible frustrations. We were angry, but we put on a good face. We were literally crying after that, sometimes crying during the episodes. So it's been truly an honor to have people support us no matter what form we took and what topic we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and there's a lot of names that are running through my head that are even beyond the patrons that I recognize and who have helped shape what this Celestial Cafe space has helped turn into on the community side. So just thank you to anyone who showed up and who trusted us and put your faith into us, and sometimes even your money. We appreciate it. And I hope that the next space you end up is as warm and as cool as the space we made here, and I hope that I can also, it's not going to be the same, but the Oddcast can maybe help fill a void a little bit during this time. Because for both me and for all of you guys who are listening, looking for your new favorite podcast, well, maybe I can be like a fourth of your new favorite podcast.
So is that a nice segue into winding down and what we'll be doing going forward?
Sure.
I do it real quick just for the gratitude thing. I just want to do like a huge thank you to all the other co-hosts for being there and supporting each other and everything. But specifically a super huge thank you to Fuchsia and Shady for the audio equipment. My mic died halfway through this year, and you guys lended me some old equipment that you guys were no longer using, an XLR mic and a mixer, which I forgot about afford at the time. And like literally could not have done it without. I probably would have been out like if not, because I couldn't afford a new mic.
Remember when we tried recording on your phone?
Yeah. So bad.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. That is helpful.
Now we can segue.
Okay.
Well, on that line, then I'd like to say my gratitude for y'all for following along with me on this, because I know I pulled y'all all in when it wasn't even a thing. We made this all together, and y'all just trusted in my ability to create a podcast out of thin air. And thank y'all for doing that. And Dukesley, thank you for carrying the weight of a lot of the full moon episodes. I know you said you bogarted them, but like in some ways it's like I said, like you let me sit down and breathe for a second. So while I was still participating in content. So thank you all for sharing your knowledge, your time. God, we want to talk time. I know that like I'm always like planning so hard, and it is. I'm not going to downplay that, but y'all also showed up every single week, except the week where Panthera was a raccoon. Y'all showed up.
There was one where Dukesley was a plushie, and I think
you were a unicorn. Yeah,
it was a unicorn one.
So we our true forms actually revealed. But
actually, factually.
But yeah, y'all showed up week after week, and it's been 2 years of this project, and it gives me a lot of like, you know, hope or whatever in myself that it's like, cool. I'm not a shit person, because people do stay around for, you know, like it's hard after you have like enough like negative interactions with people or like bad situations that happen, especially in the world of like content creators and internet. And it's very easy for you to start to just gaslight yourself into thinking you're a piece of shit, basically. And here I am, and we've got to, it fills me with faith in myself. So I think Celestial Café has served such a beautiful, beautiful purpose for all of us. And I hope for the listeners too. I feel so, if I can speak on y'all's behalf, they love it here.
Dare I say. Right, guys?
But yeah, the gratitude is never ending, and there's plenty of things to be thankful for. So thank you all.
Yeah. Real quick, also big shout out to Ty for doing all the editing. Honestly, like that is a lot of work.
There's some
I'm
episodes
sure you found like a flow somewhere.
Sort of a flow, yeah. And there were some episodes where I was like, after it would be uploaded, I would notice a problem, and I'd be like, you know what? Fuck it. I think the Fuchsia's episode that we just did.
It happens with every field, so don't worry.
There's no intro and outro on Fuchsia's episode, and it was like 90% of the way through uploading, and I noticed, and I was like, it's gonna take me 2 more hours just to add that in and export and re-upload. And I guess it's a 30-second intro. I mean, honestly, like people aren't really here for the intro probably, so it's fine. But there's
just a good intro though.
Those little moments where it's like, oh man, or like I missed someone's microphone up, I think think there was a muted portion somewhere, and like there's just these little things.
Yes.
But like I think overall, I feel pretty good about the work that I did. Could I have done better? For sure, but could I have done?
You went above and
could
beyond.
I have done worse? Absolutely. So I feel like there was a nice middle ground of like pretty well put together. Couple mistakes here or there. Probably could have done audio equalizing better, but like audio has never really been my favorite thing to do. I like doing video. I like doing graphic design. I like art and visuals. Even in theater in high school, I was the light board girl. That was like I programmed the light board and the visual. Cool. I helped with costumes. I helped with the presentation, the sound, the microphone, the amps, and the chords and all. I don't fucking know. What's a decibel? I don't know. Like so, it's been a nightmare for me to get acquainted with audio editing throughout my career as a content creator. But podcasting is a special kind of because you also got to make sure that every episode, and Dukely, you'll know this pain now. Every episode's audio is matching each other too, because people are listening to episodes back to back, and it's like you're really loud one episode, you're really quiet the next episode. Like it's a whole freaking thing.
It surely is, yeah. And not that, of course, I didn't recognize the amount of work you were putting into this prior, but especially since taking the helm and editing a one-person podcast, which already takes up a bit of time. I can't imagine having to go through and editing four people's voices. It's a lot. So thank you for taking that on. That's crazy.
Thank you, everybody.
That you even said
everybody give themselves a pat on the back.
So one last note of gratitude. I just want to say thank you to the mods who showed up to mod Shady Stream. Anita is our Discord mod. Thankfully, we never really had huge issues in Discord, but just
I think Anita and
ability
Aster
to be there
have been our two big Celestial Cafe mods. So big thank you to Anita and Aster.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And so I guess that we'll do a little last minute what we got going on. I mean, if y'all listen to our individual episodes, you know all about it.
Except my life has changed since then. So.
Holy shit. We're supposed to be the air signs over here that have a different life every month. What do you
I got hired by an air sign, okay?
Oh fuck. But yeah, I'm gonna be, taking it easy for probably the remainder of the summer, and I think probably around school's back season. So the leaves are changing over here in the Northern Hemisphere, kind of, September-ish, October-ish. Wake me up when September ends. Maybe October. There's my pop culture reference, everybody.
Snuck one right at the end.
Maybe somewhere towards that area. I can't predict, of course, this, but I'm just kind of like watching my energy. And if I was to guess, I would say in a couple, 8 to 10-ish weeks, like just a little bit of time away, because I'm already feeling the urges to create right now, but I'm talking myself out of it because I still haven't had a proper rest.
Give yourself
that's kind of what I would guess. And I'm hoping to focus. My focus is going to be on YouTube and Instagram. Twitter, I literally deleted. I'm sorry, x.com. What are we at? Porn? It sounds like a porn site now. What the fuck? It's I'm not going to use that platform at all. But Instagram, I will be using. I think I'm going to start with Instagram. I'm going to start just like micro video blogging on the stories and kind of build myself back up and figure out who's even around anymore and who. It's been a long time for me on the internet. So it's been an ebb and flow of community members. And now I got to kind of figure out who I am and who my audience is anymore, and who I want my audience to be. All of these kinds of questions, right? And YouTube, I'll be using YouTube pretty heavily. I think I might stream on YouTube more so than Twitch, although I'll still probably dabble with Twitch to kind of segue people over. I don't know. I want to be more rooted in the real world. And for the last 7 years, I've been very rooted in the internet. And I think that's dangerous for me personally. I don't give a shit what you do. But for me, it's not really treated me well. I don't want to say the internet hasn't treated me well, but me rooting myself in the internet has not treated me well. And I think that I don't know, it's not just a matter of touching grass. Like, I know that's the big meme that everyone says to be assholes right now, but it's not just a matter of touching grass. It's also just like having a fucking dose of reality and understanding how dramatically different the internet is from the real world. And
from actually existing.
It's insane because what I experience in the real world versus what I experience in like the pockets of the internet, it's like completely different spaces. And at any point in time, the internet we could have an EMP, the internet goes down, and the real world's what's really here, right? The internet obviously has an impact, but I think that I've lost a little touch of reality in terms, I'm not grounded enough in terms of myself, in terms of what kind of impact I have on my physical community, what role I play in the community around me, how I can root myself in this community, how I can show up in the real world in the same way that I show up on the internet while not overdoing it. Because I've already thought to myself, like, I could do these videos of exploring the local areas and interview all these people about, Judicola Rock and whatever. But then I'm going to start to become a known quantity, and I kind of like blending into the background in the real world. I don't like walking into someone's Twitch chat and 3 people in the chat are like, oh my God, because I don't want the attention on me. It's not about me right now, right? Like, I want attention when I want attention and not when I don't want attention.
Maybe you're just a magnetic human and are so lovable that it's just going to be unavoidable for the rest of your life.
I'm okay with either, but like I don't know. That's the journey I'm on right now. And on top of that, I'm 35 years old. So there's part of me that's like, what am I doing? Where kind of midlife crisising a little bit of like looking back, what have I been doing with my life? Where do I want to be? Long-term planning, my body's starting to fall apart. Where am I going to go from here? How can I create so there's a little bit of that kind of going on in here. And then I still have these like passions for anime. No, that's a lie. It's not though. It's very specific parts of anime. It's not just every anime ever like my 15-year-old self would have been on, but like animation, cartoons, the weird stuff, dressing up, cosplay. There's a Shrek rave that's happening like downtown for me on August 25th. And like I heard that today at work, and I was like immediately like, oh, I could be the fairy godmother. Like I could, like trying to figure out who I'm going to cosplay as. But I would have to.
Which weekend is it?
August 25th, Panthera.
Okay, but doing like a Puss in Boots rave outfit would be fucking cute.
That would be really cute.
So cute.
Yeah, that's something this is the first time that I have felt like I want to go. Like, and it kind of started too because I met up with an old coworker and we went downtown and we had coffee and then we went to a bar afterwards. And I was like, we were literally sitting in the bar and I'm like looking around and I'm like, wow, I could just not be a loser anymore and like come out and do stuff, I guess. Like, because it's literally like 5 years since I've left my house. Like, I'm like, I could, at any point in time, I could change my reality. And I spend all of my time sitting behind my computer and I don't have to. I'm an autonomous adult. I wake up every day. I choose my reality. And this is what I'm choosing. Let me choose better. You want to talk witchcraft, create the reality you want, right? So anyway, that's a sneak peek of, I guess, where my content is right now, the vlog style, the energy levels, the topics I'll be discussing, as well as like we talked about lucid dreaming, maybe a little psychedelics, maybe a little X-Men. That's a lie. X-Files, paranormal, Bigfoot, not X-Men. I don't know shit about X-Men except what's his name is Wolverine is real sexy. The guy from Les Mis, what's his name? I'm talking about. Hugh Jackman, bro. I can't believe he's my type, but he is.
I can't believe that I knew the name of an actor that you didn't know.
He's on the tip of my tongue.
Me too.
Wait, no, he wasn't.
Unfortunately.
Too thirsty. Okay.
I almost called him Logan.
Logan is his character name.
That's his real ass name. That's Wolverine's government name.
So anyway, that's HeyShadyLady.com, Hey Shady Lady on YouTube and Instagram, and that's that. Take it away, someone else. What the fuck was that? I'm sorry, everyone.
No, that was good.
Not me. I'm still losing it over. I wish it was on the tip of my tongue.
I'll go.
I'm glad someone heard that. Okay, go on.
I think we need Earthsign to bring it back down.
Please.
So I am in an interesting position where when we we're talking like our final, like the starting the final chapter episode and our content specific episodes, I was really thinking about turning my channel to be more book focused, witchcraft books, talking about books, talking about what I'm reading and what I really like, and book hauls and stuff. And I got a job at a book publishing company. Just accidentally. I cannot say how accidental this is. I walked into my local my local witchcraft shop to say hi, and the owner was just like talking to himself, like, I need someone who knows Photoshop. I'm like, I know Photoshop. What do you need? Thinking he needed like a graphic or something. He's like, someone to do book covers. and so I got hired in like 2 seconds as doing a graphic design, and I'm already taking over the social media entirely.
Cool.
I'm going to be doing the TikToks and stuff, so it's actually like now I have to redefine what I'm going to do for my content going forward, because it's kind of a conflict of interest, because a lot of the books I had planned on talking about very early on are now from this company that I work for. So I'm like, I'm fine with talking about them, but I'm like, I can't do this. Like, how do I do this ethically going forward while still being like my true content? While also this is the place I work, but I'm also really excited for the books that we are publishing. So if people missed, I'm working for a publishing company called Cross Crow Books, and they just started a year ago, but we have like 72 authors on contract and some really big names.
Holy crap.
Like they have just grown so much from where they started like a year ago.
Wow.
So it's really exciting. I have about 30 back book covers to get through by October. So that's fun.
That's so fun.
But it's funny because like I never thought of like I went to an art school and I took classes in graphic design, but I never thought of myself as a graphic designer. Like I know how to use Photoshop. Do I know how to use Photoshop well? So it's been a lot of fighting imposter syndrome on that. And even though like I've been there 2 weeks and I'm still like just learning the ropes and like getting a feel for what they want, like I'm happy with the things that I have done in the last 2 weeks. So that's been great. But content wise, I'm like, how do I talk about books? Like that was what I was going to do. So I guess I was right in my prediction that going forward, I'm going to be focused on books, but I was wrong about the avenue in which I was going to be focused.
I just love how you like accidentally manifested this job.
Totally accidentally. I'm like
that's so fun. It's such a good fit.
Even like when I was talking to my now boss, when I was talking to him about it, he's like, did you do any money magic? I was like, no, but I really needed to. He's like, because this feels like I was under the effect of some magic. And I was like, no, but it's really exciting. But that's another reason why I have not started my witchcraft channel revival yet, because I'm trying to decide how I want to go forward with this. But I still do want to talk about books, and as the nature of where I'm working, we're going to be publishing a lot of great books. So I do want to talk about them. I don't want to not talk about them just because I work there, but it's going to have to be like a really delicate balance. But also I'm going to be doing the social media. So I want to make sure that I'm not burning out completely on graphics and social media, because I will be doing like TikToks and like Instagram posts for them. I'm already doing Instagram posts for them, but I will be doing like more of that. So like just video editing, like it's my fun time, but it's also my work time now. So I'm just like, I had a plan And then the universe was like, you thought.
The streams are kind of crossing right now.
Yeah. It was like, I had a plan and the universe was like, that's a great plan, but what if we change it so that it is the plan, but it's also not? But I'm going home next week and hoping to start the process of moving home, which also I don't know that's going to entail, if that's going to be an instant thing or like a couple of years down the line thing, or like what's going to happen with this job if I move. Because like there's a possibility to work remotely. They already know that I want to move back east. Like they've known for years. So like there's all that. But at least in the meantime, I'm focusing on my gaming YouTube and I'm blogging and I'm still like, I still want to focus my gaming YouTube on cozy games, but specifically like the witchcraft oriented games. So I'm excited about like being that little niche. I will be that one person in that niche that just like focuses on witchcraft, get cozy games. So I've got tons of content planned out about that, but yeah, I'm really excited about my job going forward, and also just like, first of all, for the first time in many, many, many years, I have access to the most current version of Photoshop because of my job. And I'm using like a version of Photoshop from like 2012, and so many things have been made so much user friendly since then. And so it's a little funny because I keep trying to do things in the old Photoshop and then they work differently in this one. I'm like, this is how they should work, but I'm doing them how I'm used to them working, and it's fun. But it's really great because now like my own graphics can just be that much better with
elevated,
much less stress, so much less struggle, really, to get them to do what I want them to do. But I have access to the entire Adobe suite because of my job, so I might actually start using like Premiere for editing and stuff, and just like leveling up my content just like that much more. So I'm excited about that. Like I know Adobe is an awful company, but god damn, their stuff is good.
Unfortunately.
And thankfully I'm not paying for it. My company is paying for it. So, but it's something I'm very, very excited about. But so that's what I'll be doing going forward. If you don't hear from me personally, content wise, is because I'm buried under 30 book covers. But if you want to see some of my fun work over there, that's what I'm doing. I'm working on books, but I am really excited about the books, especially the books that we have coming out. We're doing a lot of re-releases of books that have been out of publication for the last like 20, 30 years. And they've been updated and stuff, but we also have some really cool new books coming out. There's a book coming out by Mortellis, who is a mortician, like a actual licensed mortician, and about necromantic work and like working with the dead and stuff, and I'm really excited about it. Also, I get access to the manuscripts before they're printed, so I get to read things. Yeah, right. But so I'm going to be focused on books. So if you want the book talk, that's a lot of that is going to be on my blog. I'm going to do some video content also, but a lot of that is going to be on my blog, so I'm excited for that.
Cool. And where can we find your blog?
Lunarlibraries.com. I need to actually make that into an actual cohesive website, but the links are there. Everything is Lunar Libraries. My gaming blog is there. My personal blog that I started where I just rambled about the Barbie movie by the way. 10 out of 10.
Yes.
But everything is there. All my links are on my website. And I guess my social media of choice, now that Twitter is just what it is,
doing whatever.
I am now on Blue Sky, if anyone's on Blue Sky. So that's where you can find me. My @ there is lunarlibraries.com, because you can do your fun little domain thing there.
Yeah, I love that.
So you can find me. So now I'm literally like just Lunar Libraries everywhere. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right, what about you, Panthera?
So I kind of already did a whole YouTube video a little bit about this, but I'll give you guys a little tidbit. But I'm sure we'll link that video down below if you guys want to watch the my whole spiel as I monologue about where I've been and how I've gone through a midlife crisis this past year and all my changes and plans and all the curveballs thrown at me. But I'm really excited we talked about this a little bit earlier, but going into like the science of crystals more and fusing together kind of like more history and witchcraft and science and witchcraft, and just kind of like meshing all these things that I love together. I'm really interested in doing some more gardening content, more vlog style content. So some things that are a little more relaxed. I want to do more like cooking stuff too. I feel like I used to be a huge like kitchen witch, and now I don't do it like as much, and doing like recipes is kind of hard. Like making a recipe is kind of hard.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'm definitely interested in wanting to dive into more. I also really want to work more or share more of how I work with animal spirits and the physical animals in my life. And dabbling into spirit work and things like that. I really want to kind of go into more of fantasy and D&D inspired content and meshing that as well onto my channel with more like of a witchcraft like twist and everything, like how you can enchant your D20. So and things like that. I have one video that I've been working on for a while now. I've got all the video for it, but I need to eventually mesh it together. I've been waiting for my computer to like be decorated before I do it, but I have some tech witchcraft videos planned, like doing a witchy PC build and kind of some steps that you can take to magic infuse your stuff.
To interrupt,
that'd be awesome.
Just to interrupt real quickly, that is the episode I wish we had gotten to.
Tech witchcraft.
Tech witchcraft.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a missed opportunity.
So I will look forward to your content on that.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, I do. But yeah, my Etsy shop is still live. If you'd like to take a look there and support me there, I have a new YouTube video that should be up by the time this episode airs, all about Lunasa. So I'm going to be continuing and completing my Sabbath series. I've only got a couple more. I think Maven and Samhain are my last two that I haven't done. So, and then I'll have the full complete Wheel of the Year.
Cool.
I don't know if I'll have time for an altar tour for this Sabbath, but I'm going to try. So we'll see. So I might have 2 videos up before the actual holiday on the 2nd. And then I'm really excited to dive into, so my whole goal with like the Sabbath series and everything was to go around the Wheel of the Year and give you like an overview of what the Sabbath is, you know, and some ideas of what to do, some of the common traditions, why they're named, what they're named, and some of the history behind it. And then, so that's almost nearing completion. And now it's going to go into a little more relaxed, chill, and fun. So like crafts for each one, recipes, and how I celebrate and taking you along with me on my celebrations, like rituals for that, tarot spreads for that. So this is like, I'm like, oh, finally, like the fun stuff that I'm like excited for. I feel like I did the homework. I did the textbook half, and now it's like art class. So we're gonna have some fun over there. And expect blog posts and collaboration with these videos. And yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited. I filmed the intro for a bunch of TikToks today. That is going to be a little mini series of like spells I would do for X. So like one of them is spells I would do if for more money, more income. Spells I would do for if I'm in like a creative burnout. Spells I would do if I was studying for a test or had like an exam coming up. And it's just going to be like a bunch of like spell ideas for people in those situations,
Cool.
which I'm really excited for there too. I love these like just brainstormy kind of conversations and content. So I hope to be leaning more into that style of things.
Cool.
But yeah. As
And-
usual, I guess you guys can find me at farrellwoodfarm.com. I am online on pretty much all social media platforms except for Blue Sky yet. I am on Threads, though. If you're over there at Farrellwood Farm or at Panthera the Farrellwood Witch, you can find me pretty much by both everywhere. And YouTube is going to be my main hub moving forward, along with my blog posts. They kind of work in tandem with me. I usually create a blog post and make the script from that blog post. So I think it'll be fun, and I'm really excited to move forward. I do plan on being more active on TikTok as well too. So you'll probably be seeing those as YouTube Shorts, TikToks, and Reels, depending on which platform you're active on. But yeah.
Okay. Well, and I guess that leaves me. And what I gotta say is, come listen to my podcast. It's my little baby I'm working on. I would love to have all of you join me. I've already seen some familiar faces interact with and chime in on the first 2 episodes that I released, one of them being like an episode 0 intro episode, and one of them being a full-fledged episode 1 hour-long tarot reading and tea party with me. And I'm going to be taking the full moon episodes with me. We're going to be making them new moon lunation episodes, where we go over the entirety of the new moon, full moon cycle once a month, and we wax poetic about all that shit. And among other things, we're going to be doing astrological deep dives on my favorite media. The first episode of that will likely be Zelda, specifically the newest Tears of the Kingdom game and Breath of the Wild, sort of comparing and contrasting the 2 games astrologically. We're going to be having guests on to talk about anything. It's sort of this witchy gaming smorgasbord podcast. It's going to be a little bit of both. So please come by to the Oddcast. And once again, its full legal name is the Lazy Phasey Oddcast of Wonder and Whimsy. I would love to see you there. And I don't know. By the way, thank you for listening to it. If you already have, I appreciate it. Also, I figure this would be a pretty decent place to announce that I'm going to actually be putting a bonus episode out next week that is not on the schedule. So I hope you guys enjoy what I'm conjuring up for that. I'm going between 2 topics, so I'm actually going to settle on one a little bit later. But I hope you enjoy that when that comes out. Another thing about me, as you know, I read tarot and I read the stars. You can find all of my offerings on phasey.love. This is my full-time job. I am a full-time healing artist. So if you're feeling confused, conflicted, overwhelmed, or just need a vibe check on what's going on and what you need to do next and reprioritize, I think my readings could help with that. And I wanted to announce that because we are sending Celestial Café off, I wanted to give a thank you sale to everyone who has participated in this little world. It's also just going to be on the website itself. It's a discount code. Goodbye Cafe 15% off the whole store for the next month, I think, or 3 weeks to a month, I think. The information will be on the website.
Goodbye,
so
Cafe.
Please check that out. Goodbye Cafe 15, just as a little thank you to everyone who's listened and who maybe has wanted a reading from me. I don't know, you guys, but it's there as an option. Tell your friends, tell your hamsters. Readings galore. Cooper's thrilled, so he can finally get that reading he's been wanting to afford. And also, side note, to those who have recently bought readings, I fixed my email. If you know, you know. The email's fixed. We're good, everyone. Good job, everyone. Other places you can find me is on Twitch. I will be streaming every Monday, starting maybe the Monday that this releases. I think this I'll be streaming every Monday, afternoon EST. I'm never gonna have an exact time. Just follow me on Twitch. I'm Doogsley on there. You can also follow me on YouTube. I'm Doogsley on there as well, at Doogsley, and that's also another place I'm uploading the Oddcast. If you're one of the YouTube listeners for this podcast, hey, come over to the Doogsley YouTube page where we got a whole new Oddcast for you to explore. I am also on Blue Sky. Fuck Twitter and fuck X or whatever the fuck is going on there. Come to Blue Sky with us. Seriously, there's a thriving witchy community that I am discovering on there of very science-y witches. So it's been really nice to be around. And I am hold up now.
Now she's like, why did I give that invite code to me?
I'll just be here waiting patiently in the corner for whatever you guys hear.
Listen, my next invite. They're spiraling. Listen, you get my next invite, okay? I promise. So that I'm Duke.party on there because, like Fuchsia said, we can use our own URLs, which is really cool as a URL hoarder. So that was pretty exciting. I do have a Twitter that I'm literally just going to be using for business shit. If you just want to be updated with new sales, new phasey shit, new uploads, that's what I'm just going to be using Twitter for. That's at Doogsley. I also have a Discord server. It's Dooglandia. You should be able to find that wherever you find all my other shit. And finally, the most important place you can find me right now is on Neopets. You should definitely be my Neo friend. I am deeply on there. I would love to trade all of my shitty little items with you, and you can give me all your paintbrushes because you haven't played in 20 years, and I'm cheating. Give me your shit.
Sounds like a good mutual relationship.
This sounds a little parasitic.
I give you some dung that I found at the junkyard, and you give me paintbrushes.
Yeah, listen, it's a Doogsley special. What could I say? But you definitely find me on Neopets too. I'm low key obsessed. But that's literally all about me.
Hooray!
Thank you again for all Oddcastians.
Well, that's our final episode. Just a moment of silence.
We're just gonna let the band off. We just gotta do it.
Wait, I got something. I don't even know if it's gonna come through or not. I don't even know if
just do any of them, right?
I don't know if that's gonna record or not. Goodbye, Celestial Cafe. Oh my god, I forgot you can do sad reactions too.
Me realizing we could do this
the whole time we could have been doing this.
Oh my god,
the whole time. Fuck. Okay, well, that is the end of Celestial Cafe. This is the last episode, so we're shutting our cafe doors. And I guess we'll see y'all on our own channels. We'll still be in the Discord if y'all want to say hi on the Discord. If you want to join to say goodbye to us, the link's on Celestial Cafe, celestialcafe.org. You can also say goodbye to us in the YouTube comments. We'd love to hear how we impacted you, what episodes you liked, and anything that you want to share with us. And we hope to see you on our content going forward. And I guess that's it. Goodbye, Celestial Cafe.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye.